So right now, there's a guy. He's 27 years old.
Okay.
Let's say he went to school, didn't finish.
Okay.
He right now has a part-time job making about $25,000 a year.
Okay.
And he doesn't really have much drive in life. What is the first step that you're going to tell that man to do?
Nothing. Nothing. Why does he not have drive in his life? So let me give it to you maybe from a different perspective.
Okay.
My dad kept telling me I'm lazy as a kid because I was.
Mm-hmm.
I was bored half the time. Class, everything was boring to me.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually I go and I get a 1.8 GPA. I have a job at Haagen-Dazs, and I worked my ass off at night from 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock when everybody was asleep. I'd go grab a shopping cart, and I would go into trash cans, and I would find 2-liter bottles and cans. And then I would go to Albertson, and I would recycle. So every night I was making $10 a night with my shopping cart that I had. 10 or 20, my friend and I would split it. He would get half, I would get half. And we'd collect them. What are you guys doing? Because we wanted to buy cards. I wanted a Sergei Fedorov rookie card. I wanted a David Robinson 1989 Hoops rookie card. So my motivation was what? Cards at the time, right? Okay. So later on, when I sat there and I'm like, lazy, man, this topic keeps coming up. Lazy, lazy, lazy. Why are people lazy? Everything to me is linking a word to another word. When somebody says, man, Patrick, I'm owner of 100% of this company. We're doing $5 million a year. I want to bring another guy in, but I just don't feel like I can control. I feel like I want to control everybody. I said, can you tell me why you want to control everybody? Why? I said, what word links with control? The more you want to control somebody, the less you trust them. The less you want to control somebody, the more you trust them.
Exactly.
I said, you simply don't trust your people. So you got to figure out a way how much of that is on you, how much of that is on them. I said, okay, that does kind of make sense. You find somebody that's bitter. Why is somebody bitter? You're not part of a community, and you're not creating anything new. The moment you no longer create something of value to the world, you become bitter. Who's typically bitter?
Old man.
Old people. Why are they bitter? Because they're no longer contributing. You got to figure out a way to get them to contribute, to feel like I am still needed in society. The world still needs me. Wooden died at 99. John D. Rockefeller, who was born in 1835, said, I'm going to live 100 years and I'm going to make $100,000. He didn't make $100,000. In today's money, he made $340 billion. Do you know in 1835, the average life expectancy for a man was 39 and a half years old? You know how long he lived? 97 years and 11 months because he kept contributing, okay? So when you look at this stuff and you're like, okay, well, here's what we got going on. How about this 27-year-old kid making 25 grand a year, part-time job, and has no drive? He's bored out of his mind. You either need an enemy, you need a vision, you need somebody to tell you can't do something. You need to put yourself in a position where somebody slaps you around that pisses you off, and you wake up and you're like, wait a minute, what did you say?
Yeah.
I'm going to go out there and go to war and show you that I'm going to do something big with my life. But that 25-year-old is bored out of their minds. And quite frankly, many times there's nothing you can do about it. It has to come internal. Look, life is a test. You're being tested right now. I don't know how you're being tested right now, but somehow you're being tested. Could be personal life, could be family, could be finance, could be ego, could be desires, could be a vice. No one knows, but you're being tested. I'm being tested. She's being tested. He's being tested. There's not a person right now that's not being tested, right? Some of us don't pass the test. Who controls that? You do. Yeah. That's not on you and I. So that 25-year-old, that 27-year-old is being tested today. And he's failing today because he has no desire to go out there and do something. He has to figure out a way to self-motivate himself right now. There's nothing you and I can do. At the end of the day, the individual has to want to help themselves. We can't make miracles. I can bring Tony Robbins, Joel Osteen, bring the biggest motivational speakers in the world. Put them in a room of 1,000 people, and you're still going to have 80% of people that are going to do nothing when they leave that room. Numbers are numbers. That person's got to want it themselves. There's nothing you can do about it.
Man, so the first time I met you, I remember you came in the room, and there was an energy shift in the room when you walked into the room. And only way I could describe it is like this dragon energy. It was like this powerful being. And the more I began to read and to learn, it's this sense of this masculine energy that you exude. And one of the things that I was reading about is this masculine energy is this initiative, it's this drive, it's this passion. And you can just feel it when somebody walks in the room, to which I believe you said, like, in part of your family crest is a lion. Did you communicate that? And that's what it embodies, right? This fierce, ferocious competitor, go-getter. And you're 100% right. For a lot of these young men, they don't have that in them. You know, they don't have it in them. And so I know you said there's nothing that we can do about it, but have you seen anybody go from very passive and lazy and then waken that inner lion?
Myself.
Okay.
Myself. See, the reason why I believe people change is because I've witnessed my life. If you were to, one of the things I did a few years ago, I brought up my former sergeant from the Army, okay? And I put him on stage. I said, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about who I was in the Army? And he started telling stories. I ended up bringing my sister into the business with me. She's one of our vice presidents now, Paulette and Siamak. They do a great job. They're one of the vice presidents in the company. And I told everybody, go ask my sister anything you want to ask about how I was. And I said, Paulette, say whatever you want to say. I'm good. And she would say, Pat was lazy. Pat was this. Yeah, no, totally fine. I'm okay. Then I brought another friend who from the military, and people would ask him the questions. Hey, how was Pat? How was this? How was that? I don't have any problems with that. Then I went and called, one of my friends called me one time. I'll never forget this. His name is Adrian. And he said, hey, can we go out to lunch? And we went out to lunch. This was even 12 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, maybe even before like I was online anything. And he says, Pat, can I tell you something? I said, yeah. At the time, I'm probably making $250,000 to $500,000 when him and I are having this conversation, my late 20s. He says, I'm going to tell you something that most of your friends are not going to tell you. So what's that, Adrian? He says, Pat, I never thought you were going to make it. I'm not one of these guys that's going to tell you, I know Pat was going to make it. He says, Pat, I never thought you were going to make it.
Yeah.
I never thought you were going to know anything with your life. When you went into the Army, I thought that was it. Like, you're going to go make 38 grand, 40 grand, and that's it.
Wow.
He says, I am shocked at who you became. Okay, perfect. So now flip it. You asked me the question with this 25-year-old. I'm telling you, I didn't have any fire. I didn't have any fire. One day, I'm at UCLA Medical Center in LA. My dad has a heart attack. You've heard me tell this story before. My dad has a heart attack. And my dad is like my dad's. At this time, I'm partying 5-6 days a week. I'm in Vegas every other weekend. So I go to the hospital and I see him. And I see him laying in bed, and the nurse, he's calling the nurse, not showing up. The nurse gave him a little bit of an attitude, and that's when I lost it. I'm calling out the nurse, just acting fully irresponsible at the hospital. My dad is panicking. Patrick, please calm down. Please calm down. And he just had a heart attack. Just foolish. Absolutely. There's nothing about my behavior that was acceptable, except the fact that I wanted my dad to get better service, right? So eventually they kicked me out. I get kicked out of the hospital. I can't go visit my dad. They kicked me out of the hospital. And, I get in my car, Ford Focus, and I sit there. And I cry for 30 straight minutes, okay? The next day, I told my friends, never ever call me again to go to clubs. Pat, come on, man, what are you talking about? I said, don't ever call me again. I'm not going. You're not going to see me at the clubs anymore. I'm not going to party with you. I'm not going to go to clubs with you. Pat, you're out of your mind. There's no way in the world. You can stop. We all know who you are because I was great at the party inside. You will never stop. I said, okay, I'm just telling you, don't call me anymore. So they started calling me. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. Guess what happened? Never went to the clubs ever again. That night, decision was made. The old Pat died. I killed the old Pat. Give you another part of the story here. One day, I'm sitting there. I'm like, why do I drink? I don't know why I'm drinking. Done with alcohol. I dropped alcohol, and I stopped drinking. Now, this is coming from a guy that every weekend in the Army, I would drink 2 bottles of tequila. When I would go to the clubs. We would drive from Kentucky all the way up to Nashville, Tennessee, Mix Factory connections, Silverados, all this stuff. And by the time we got there, we're hammered. If you see most of my military pictures in Nashville, if there's any military picture you see out of my album in Nashville, I am hammered. And you'll see it on the look of my face. To all of a sudden saying, dude, I'm done, okay? And to me saying, no sex for 17 months until I make my money. I made some drastic decisions. Who can't do that? They can do that. You control the choice. See, the reason why capitalism is a beautiful thing is because of 4 things. You have the freedom to buy whatever you want to buy that's legal. You have the freedom to sell whatever you want to sell that's legal. You have the freedom to try whatever you want. You don't want to do real estate? Try insurance. You don't want to do insurance? Try digital marketing. You don't want to go try YouTube. You can try anything you want. But you know what the last one is? The freedom to fail. We don't give enough credit to this. The reason why certain people in the world are respected and admired at the level that they are is because so many people fail. Because when the pressure hits, most people leave the arena. We all root for the people in the arena and we criticize them. What we don't recognize is the fact that whoever is in the arena getting their asses handed to them at least they had the courage to get in the arena. They're not fans on the outside. They're in the arena fighting. Those are the people we admire. So these young guys that you're talking about, Pat, a lot of people don't have the drive. I wish you knew me in my early 20s. You would have had more confidence in people being able to ship, because I had to choose. One thing happened, next thing, I'm a whole different person.